Happy New Year, and welcome to Black Nouveau. This is our edition for January 4th, 2017. I'm Joanne Williams. We begin with a special arts edition that looks back at some of the creations we covered last year, and will preview some of the arts you can enjoy in 2017. Sherry Williams-Pinnell joins us to discuss Welcome to Bronzeville, which starts next week. We'll have performances from the Milwaukee Rep's cast of Lady Day at Emerson's Bar and Grill, the Next Act Theater's Twilight Los Angeles 1992, and the Skylight Music Theatre's production of Crowns. We'll also tell you about this year's first gallery night. Well, he's moving on up. Milwaukee's Nathaniel Stampley is currently on Broadway playing Mr. in The Color Purple, a role he did at the Milwaukee Rep in 2014. Last year, he opened the Rep's season in Man of La Mancha.
Never seen thee or touched thee, but known thee with all of my heart. Hath a prayer, hath a song. Thou hast always been with me, though we have been always apart.
Early in the rehearsal period for the Milwaukee Rep's production of Man of La Mancha. The musical is a play within a play and is loosely based on Spanish writer Miguel de Cervantes' novel, Don Quixote. The original Broadway production won 5 Tony Awards, including Best Musical. In the Rep's production, Nathaniel Stampley plays Cervantes as well as his fictional creation, the eternally optimistic knight that some consider mad, Don Quixote de la Mancha.
Gentle knights, fair chatelaine, if there be any among you that requires assistance, you have but to speak, and my good right arm is at your service.
To play this role is a dream come true. I think I was inspired by Brian Stokes Mitchell and the revival that happened many years ago. Once I started to learn the show and become aware of the show, I thought, man, one day I would love to play Don Quixote and to be a part of arguably one of the greatest musicals ever written. And so I love it. And so, to kick off this season here at the Rep and get a chance to do it in my hometown is always something special.
Man of La Mancha has a lot to say still. In fact, you could argue in this day and age that we find ourselves in that there are the central messages about living in the moment, dreaming, aspirations, who belongs in a certain environment, who doesn't belong. Those topics, those themes rather, they feel very apposite to the times we're living in now.
Signor Knight, you must be hungry.
Aye, that I am.
There's food aplenty and for your squire too. I'll just help him stable the animals.
One thing about this show that will be different than what most people are used to seeing is that, it's a multicultural cast and it's a diverse cast. And the fact that I get a chance to play the role of Don Quixote is something that's different not only for the Rep, but for most audiences. A lot of times as actors, we don't get a chance to spread our wings fully on the stage as actors of color.
I see his face. In recent years, the Rep has employed an increasing number of actors of color in their productions, in musicals like Ragtime, The Color Purple, and last year's Dreamgirls. They were part of a strategy designed to make the Rep more reflective of Milwaukee's diversity.
When I did my first interview with you,
you talked about the need to make the Milwaukee Rep more responsive to the diverse communities in Milwaukee. How is that effort coming along?
I think we've been on a journey, and we're still on that journey, and we have a lot to achieve. But I think if you look at just artists on stage, right now, we have over 50%, just over 50% of our casting are people of color in all our plays across, and that has been the case for the last 3 years. But one of the things that I'm starting to feel good about is that, I've never done it, to my mind, for effect. It's been a very deliberate thing. We have this community, you want this community to come and see your theater, you want this community in the city of Milwaukee and the state of Wisconsin to come and see the plays. Well, then you have to put on things that are relevant to people, where people, if not all of the time, for a substantial amount of the time when they come to see the plays, they reflect their own culture and they reflect themselves.
I don't think there's anything wrong with you demanding that. I think that's...
The Rep does community outreach around many of its productions, but it's still the performances that matter the most.
I'm grateful for this opportunity, and I don't take it lightly, because I also know that when I'm successful, many people here in Milwaukee, they get to see my success. And so this isn't a solo endeavor by any means. I represent a lot of people here in Milwaukee and around the country. And I try my best to represent all of us in the best way that I know how.
For 7 years, the King Drive Commas Gallery and Studio, located on Milwaukee's north side in the Harambe community, have focused on enriching, educating, and promoting artists and their craft through a belief that culture can play a vital role in the revitalization of a community.
What we found is that we have some incredible talent here in the community that just has not had a chance to exhibit their work. And so we seek out developing artists, and we also work with established artists that are well known in the community.
The visual arts, performing arts, ceramics, jury shows have exhibited in the King Drive Commas, along with artists such as Leslie Dickerson, self-taught artist Sylvester Sims, Munir Al-Bahudin, and upcoming artist Darren Reed. The gallery is preparing for Gallery Night, an event that takes place quarterly throughout the city.
January, and then we'll have one in April, July, and another in October. Well, Gallery Night is a very big event, a very important event that happens here in Milwaukee. It is, for the most part, sponsored through the Historic Third Ward Association. And traditionally, for the most part, historically, they've had it in the Third Ward area. But now it has moved out, and so when we learned about it, we decided, well, why not join in with them and have it here in the Harambe community, right here on Dr. Martin Luther King Drive, to represent the residents in this community and their art, but also to give the community at large the opportunity to come into this community and to see the skill and talent of various artists.
January brings exhibit Weaving Our Strengths for Positive Outcomes, an exhibit idea started by some kente cloth.
And the kente cloth is from Ghana. It's part of the Ashanti Empire. And I was so amazed at learning about how each thread woven together creates this magnificent design, these beautiful, wonderful geometric shapes.
Shapes that can be found in quilts. Along with a kente cloth collection, the King Drive Commas Gallery will feature quilters Ethel White and Charles Queen. 86-year-old Vietnam veteran Charles Queen has been quilting for 11 years, with his first being a jazz t-shirt quilt.
I made a 1-inch square postage stamp with 10,000 1-inch squares on the quilt. This one, it took me about 9 months, off and on, not every day, it gets tedious, and you have to put it down and do something else.
Queen says he likes doing small things.
Actually, it's not really small to me, they're large. And the smaller they are, the better. I want to get something smaller than 1 inch.
He's made several different quilts. His stamp-size pattern quilt and others will be on display. A quilting exhibit in 2004 sparked Ethel White's interest in quilting.
Looking at the quilts, remembering them when my mother, used to quilt, and what they were made out of, and I was just fascinated that the people that came to see those quilts was looking at them as art, where we was looking at them as utilitarian quilts, to cover you up because they were so heavy. My first year of quilting, I made 35 quilts, which nobody believed in the quilting world, because I'm a seamstress, but mind you, I didn't know all of the techniques of quilting. And once I got into it and got to meet people that were quilters, that helped me out, I ran off with it.
White will have several quilts with different styles on display gallery night, including one she calls the Peace Stone.
The symbols that are in this quilt are word symbols, and I'll read the story to them, when they come, that I'm here. I will have Communion of the Spirit. I think I have the slave chain, and there'll be some quilts for people to come and see. I won't name them all, but I should have about 7.
The King Drive Commons Gallery Night offers not only the visual arts, but food, along with book authors, various performing artists.
So we have spoken word, we have Hansberry Sands Theatre that will come and do a short piece for us. We have a fantastic jazz group that comes. They play music from the 1920s, all the way up. Duke Ellington, they play Miles Davis, John Coltrane. I mean, just wonderful, wonderful music. Stevie Wonder. We have people that come in and they will sing spirituals, blues, even classical jazz.
Gallery Night is a free event with much to offer.
It gives one a sense of pride to see a cultural heritage, to connect with a heritage, to see the skills that you don't often see in mainstream media. To come and to enjoy that cultural expression of music, of dance, of good food, and to make the connection in the community with other people.
I say I'll move the mountain, and I'll move the mountain if it wants it out of the way. Crazy calls me, sure, I'm crazy, crazy in love, I'd say. I say I'll go through fire, and I'll go through fire. As He wants it, so it shall be. Crazy calls me, sure, I'm crazy, crazy in love, you see. Like the wind that shakes the bough, He moves me with a smile. The difficult I'll do right now. The impossible will take a little while. I say I care for gonna mean forever. If I have to hold up the sky, crazy calls me, sure, I'm crazy, crazy in love.
Did you know Jonathan Jackson? Because I did. And Jonathan Jackson was 17 years old. He was probably one of the most brilliant young men that you could meet. He happened to be a science genius. He was not a gang member, by the way. But Jonathan Jackson went to a courtroom by himself and took over for that one glorious minute in the name of revolution and the freedom of his brother, and other people were in prison, and died that day. My question to you, young brother with a gun in your hand, tough and strong and beautiful as you are, do you think it would be better if Jonathan were alive today or that he died that day in Marin County? Me personally, I'd rather know Jonathan Jackson. That's what I'd rather do. And I'd rather him be alive today to be among the leadership that we do not have than to be dead and in his grave at 17 years old. So the question is, how are you going to push the revolutionary struggle from your grave? I'm merely talking about strategy, not swashbuckling. I think that this idea of picking up the gun and going into the street without a plan and without any more rhyme or reason than rage is bizarre. And it's foolish. Because it will, I think that all that one has to do is to ask the Vietnamese or Saddam Hussein about the power and weaponry and arsenal of the United States government and its willingness to use it to get an understanding of what this is about. You are not, facing some little Nicaraguan clique here. You are not in Havana in 1950-something. This is about the United States of America. There isn't another country. There isn't another community that is more organized and armed. It is not only naive, it is foolish if one is talking about jumping out into the street and waving a gun and so on and so forth, doing that bad thing, because you're not that bad. You see what I'm saying? You just not that bad. You think you bad, but I say again, ask Saddam Hussein about who is bad and you will get an answer. So what I'm saying is, be conscious of what you are doing. If you want to die and become a poster, go ahead and do that. We will put you on the wall with all the rest of the people. But if you want to affect change for your people and you are serious about it, and that doesn't mean throw down your gun. Matter of fact, I would definitely never tell anybody to do that, not black and in America. But if you are talking about a war against the United States government, then you better talk to Saddam Hussein. And you better talk to the Vietnamese people and the Nicaraguan and the El Salvadorians and people in other countries in Southeast Asia and ask these people what this country is capable of doing. So, all I'm saying is, if you seriously make a commitment, and that must be based not on hate, but on love. And that's the other thing, that love of your people, then you're going to have to realize that this may have to be a lifetime commitment. And that the longer you live, the more you can do. So don't get hung up on your ego and your image and pumping up your muscles and putting on a black beret or some kind of Malcolm X hat or whatever regalia and symbolic vestment you can put on your body. Think in terms of what you are going to do for black people. I'm saying that these are long haul, because then you might be talking about being in a better position for so-called change, armed struggle. At this point, you are talking about a piss-poor, ragtag, unorganized, poorly armed, and poorly led army. And it's not going to, we just be thrown back. And it will be 20 more years trying to figure out what happened to Martin, Malcolm, and the Black Panther Party.
Why should I feel shadows come, and why should my heart be lonely and long for heaven and home? When Jesus is my portion, a constant friend is He. His eyes on the sparrow, and I know He watches me. I sing because I'm happy, and I sing because I'm free. His eyes on the sparrow, and I know, yes, I know, yes, I know He watches me. Them that's got shall get, them that's not shall lose. So the
We are joined now by Sherry Williams-Pennell, playwright and author of Welcome to Bronzeville, which premieres next week at Marcus Center's Todd Weir Theater. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
So what is the play about?
Welcome to Bronzeville is the story of a young boy by the name of Mike who is growing up in Bronzeville, Milwaukee in 1957. He is trying to find his way, who he is, how he's going to contribute to his community, and making some tough decisions, but under the watchful eye of his family and community members.
So you sought out the input of elders in the community for this play. How did that help you?
The elders that I spoke with actually grew up. They were young people during the time of Bronzeville in the 1950s. And they were able to give me a feeling of the environment, of what was important to young people during that time, the impact of the businesses and of the entertainment scene, about the school and the teachers, a feeling for the atmosphere of Bronzeville, a place where the community really was invested in the children of the community, the businesses, the schools, and where the ministers, the teachers, the doctors, the lawyers, the dentists, everybody lived down the street.
Right.
They were contained to about an 8-block radius, but it was so rich in culture and a thriving business community.
Now, the play has a jazz feel to it. How did you bring that home?
I brought it home with the help of Mr. John Tanner, who is our sound designer and composer. What he did was, and I was blessed to have some input, was to create lyrics that evoke the spirit of Bronzeville and the era of not only jazz, but doo-wop music as well, which was so popular in the 1950s. And in his composition, he pays homage to groups like the Platters and the Coasters and jazz musicians like Miles Davis, who were just beginning to break out and to find their own voice through straight ahead jazz.
You're a Milwaukee native.
Milwaukee is my home.
What do you remember the most about growing up during that era, and how has that helped you as a playwright?
Well, I am a little after Bronzeville, the Bronzeville era. In fact, the demise of Bronzeville happened with the I-43, the building of I-43. I remember attending Calvary Baptist Church, the old Calvary, which was on 4th and Walnut Streets. What you had during that time was a community where people walked to where they wanted to go. You didn't get in the car and travel long distances. You took the bus, you walked, and as you walked, people greeted one another. You knew who lived where, and they communicated with you. They asked you how were your grades or what were you doing. They encouraged you. So there was a feeling of responsibility to the children from the adults and respect for the adults on the behalf of the kids.
Now there are efforts underway to revitalize Bronzeville. What needs to happen?
What needs to happen is, for me, the rebuilding of the business district, because the beauty of Bronzeville during that time, because of the problem or the situation of segregation, the dollars remained in Bronzeville. Because in Bronzeville, that's where you went to grocery store, where you went shopping for clothing. It's where you went for your entertainment. It's where you worked. There was the Apex cab. So if you didn't have a car, you relied on the cab service from within the community. So there was, the dollars remained within Bronzeville. So it was a community that thrived and was pretty much self-sustaining.
Real quick, how can we find out more information about the play?
Please contact us at firststage.org.
Okay, thank you.
And that is our program for this week. For Black Nouveau, I'm Joanne Williams. Thanks for watching.